China did spectacularly well at the Olympic Games that it hosted 2 years ago, but it's never been able to make any impact at all at a global event that some would say is even bigger than the Olympics, the Soccer World Cup. Now, in this special report, BON's Tom Spender examines why the beautiful game hasn't developed in the Middle Kingdom.
There's no shortage of enthusiasm for the Soccer World Cup here in Beijing. Chinese broadcasters have shown every match so far. But there's one thing missing: the Chinese national team itself. This nation of 1.4 billion people could not beat such footballing powers as tiny Qatar in the Arabian Gulf during qualifying. And with other East Asian countries such as both Koreas and Japan having qualified, people here are asking, what's wrong with soccer in China?
不知道，真的不知道。
I don't know why we couldn't get to the World Cup. We're all asking ourselves this question, but no one has an answer.
Don't ask me. I don't know. It's been like that for many years now. Maybe in 40 years we'll qualify.
China has only ever reached one World Cup, in 2002, where it lost all 3 group games and embarrassingly failed to score a goal. Yet as a nation, its overall sporting pedigree is not in doubt. It won more gold medals than the US or any other country at the 2008 Olympic Games, which it also hosted, and dominates disciplines such as table tennis and badminton. But soccer is a different story, and it is not just the national side that is in disarray. China's domestic league has collapsed 3 times amid allegations of match fixing and corruption, with the latest league suspension coming this year. Fans and officials have advanced a number of theories to explain the sport's moribund state in China. Among them are corruption and even race-based theories that soccer is too physical a game for slightly built Chinese. Englishman Rowan Simons sees things differently. He arrived in China 20 years ago and cast around for a soccer team to play in, but he couldn't find any because all organisations that existed outside the government were banned, including grassroots soccer teams. Determined to make a change, Simons founded Club Football, a grassroots organisation that now boasts 100 teams in its leagues. These amateur players in Suda Park may not be about to grace a World Cup anytime soon, but the more people there are playing the sport, the more likely it is that real talent will emerge, and that, according to Simons, is something that the Chinese soccer authorities have yet to grasp.
The problem China has is there's no grassroots football, there's no organisation at the social level. So over the years this idea started developing, and in about, I suppose, 1997, 98, I started realising that actually Chinese football was in a very serious crisis and nobody was seeing the real problem. There was more tinkering at the top. They were coming out with plans such as sending 100 selected kids overseas for 5 years and expecting them to come back and win the World Cup. It's not going to work. So becoming more and more frustrated, more and more angry with the kind of the Chinese view of football and their excuses for it. So by 2000 we set up China's first non-government owned independent grassroots football network called Club Football. And over the last 9 years we've been building that from the grassroots in an organic way to try and prove to China that football is a game, it's called the people's game, and it should be played by people, and it should be organised by people, not just the government.
That lack of widespread soccer participation means fans don't understand the game and are easily frustrated, which only ramps up the pressure on their beleaguered national team.
The Chinese fans are very fickle. China wins 1 or 2 games and suddenly everyone's feeling very arrogant and we're the best. They lose a game, they turn away entirely from the sport. And to me that again is a function of not playing the sport or being involved at the grassroots level. We all know that, if you lose a game, that's sad, but next week you have another chance. If you win a game, that's great, but you're magnanimous in defeat and in victory. You don't show off. China has a very poor record in that, actually. The fans become extremely arrogant on one side and then very depressed on the other side. And I think if they understood what it is to play the game and to be responsible for the game, that may change. So I think the Chinese national team also has a huge pressure put on them. And you can sometimes see them wilt during a game because they realise what's being said about them back at home. They are useless, they're rubbish.
But World Soccer's governing body also bears its share of responsibility, Simons says, because it hasn't done more to encourage China to release soccer from direct government control. The FIFA constitution states that any member football association must be independent of government, but China's sports law states that the FA is a government department. This means that the Chinese FA is breaking FIFA rules and, in Simons' opinion, should be taken to task.
What would happen if FIFA did ban China for government interference? So China is now banned from all World Cups at all No more AFC Champions League, no more coaching, no more referee coaches, no junior activities. China would be isolated from the world in football. And I put that question to a lot of people. I said, what would happen? What would really happen if that were to occur? Would China turn its back on the entire world and no longer take part in football? Or would it seriously look at changing its system? And I have a feeling, actually, that football could be one of the things that would force China to look at itself and to realise that it needs to be part of the world, that grassroots football, run and organised by people, is not a threat to their power. In fact, it's part of building a harmonious society that the government can't do itself because it requires individual initiative.
In a statement, FIFA told BON that it was in discussions with the Chinese FA over ways to bring it into line with its laws, but said that it was not considering banning China from international soccer or sanctioning it in any other way. For its part, the Chinese FA did not respond to requests for an interview. China won the most gold medals at the 2008 Olympic Games, but it is still about 20 years away from making any kind of impact at the World Cup, according to Simons. Yet with economic prosperity changing the way people live here and a vast pool of potential talent to draw from, World Cup glory remains an achievable goal, albeit a very long-term one. Tom Spender, BON.
Well, a very illuminating report from Tom Spender there. It is a source of great frustration here in China that with, a population of 1.3 billion people, the state of the Chinese football team is in such disarray. In fact, there are only 50,000 registered football players, registered male football players here in China, and the country's national team is ranked a pitiful 84th in the world, so it's a cause of great frustration here in China.
Yeah, in fact, the closest China's national side actually did come to success was 6 years ago. I was here for this. It was the whole city was going nuts about this. The Asian Cup final against none other than Japan. So a lot of tension there in that match. China ended up losing, and home fans responded by trying to smash up the bus, carrying the victorious Japanese team. Very ugly scenes, and also touching on what Rowan Simon said in his piece about the extremes of emotions that Chinese people go to when they lose or win a match.